Oh my God. I said I was going to review these couples, didn't I? I nearly forgot about it. Anyway, so today I'll be reviewing their journey for Isaac and Ruth and Tabby and Genesis. I think the way it was cast was interesting. But anyway, hey there, it's your girl Valerie. Welcome back to my channel. In this episode, I'll be reviewing couples, their journey throughout the season. Obviously, I haven't followed most of the couples or most of the participants once they've left the experiment. So my review will only be up until the reunion. It won't go past people that I've followed, as I've said before, Ankateko and Caesar, and they are the ones that I might have more detail about post show. Anyway, so I'm just going to give my opinion, as I said that somebody in the comments had suggested I do, reviews of their journey. So this is what I'm doing. Anyway, so with Tabby and Genesis, I feel like the producers, when they cast them as that puppy love that sort of grows over the years and matures into this, amazing relationship. And because they met in university, they've been dating for 7 years. Tabby gave the ultimatum because she feels she's ready to get married, but he is saying he's not ready, he doesn't have the finances. And she was querying that why does he not have the finances, if he's able to save up for everything else. So I think, given their story on paper, they sounded like an amazing coupled cast. They sounded like an amazing coupled cast. When you look at them visually, they look stunning. But sadly, they were lost in the mud in the sense that they were outshone by other people. I think they tried the best. The editing tried their best that they could. But sadly, there was nothing standoutish about them. And so I feel like, because when they came in and they were making love on their last night together and, they were very upset about being split, I felt sorry for them and all the drama that happened during the dating phase, because Tabby felt like, Genesis was ignoring her and Genesis was trying to sort of distance himself so that he could focus on the other ladies. And so I felt sorry for them in that sense that, oh, they've been together for this long, they must really miss one another. And I think what happened is they were able to create bonds, because before they went to the dating phase, they actually asked each other, who did you like? And Genesis said he liked Kanya, and she said she liked, Nkateko, which they were sort of laughing that we're just swapping partners. And so I think during the talking stage, that's when Genesis realized that Kanya wasn't it. Because Kanya was very dismissive to most of the guys. She couldn't be bothered to even open her mouth and speak. She was just one-word answers. And I think this is why he sort of branched out and started speaking to people like Courtney and Caesar. And I felt like they had a great connection with Caesar, Genesis. Initially, it looked cutesy. It was no different to what his connection with Tabby was. So when he said he decided to try something different, it made sense to me that he wants to sort of expand himself. He wants to grow. He wants to try something that he's never done before. I think he didn't quite understand Caesar. This is why he decided to go for Courtney. I think he couldn't see past the laughing and everything else that she did. And I think he just felt maybe she was maybe too immature for him. And this is why he went with Courtney. And I think had Tabby been coupled up with Aiden, as I said in my review about the couples before, I think both couples would have explored the romantic aspect. And it seemed on day one, Courtney was very ecstatic to be coupled up with Genesis. She seemed like she was going to explore the romantic aspect of it, because she even talked about the bed, how are we going to sleep, look at how. And so I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing. However, sadly, something happened that sort of made her just shut off, and she shut down. And I remember when I was reading Courtney and Aiden, I said, I feel like Courtney couldn't get over the fact that Aiden wouldn't be able to do or explore a romantic connection, and this is why she shut things down with Genesis. And I still believe that that's the case. And so sadly for Genesis, because she's coupled up with Courtney, they were a very boring couple, which meant that they were just put to the back of the group and they were brought out from time to time, and their scenes barely made sense, and they were not eye-catching that you'd say, oh my God, I need to see more of them. Even when they went to the yoga class with Caesar, Kateko, and Ruth and Isaac, you could see that producers were looking for material to sort of air in regards Courtney and Genesis. This is why that session was mainly focused around them, and they sort of tried to sort of push the two other couples to the background and mainly focus on those two, because I think they were looking for material for them. And still nothing stood out about them as a couple. And sadly for Tabby as well, I think Tabby drew the short straw on the girl side. I think no one really connected with Lindele, irregardless of how he looks. I think the girls just shut him down completely. They didn't find people like Lebo. Yeah, she did speak to him, but he was dismissive to Lebo in the sense that he was asking her, "Oh, I assume you're the one who gave the ultimatum," but as though, you know, he couldn't be bothered with her. And sadly, because he shut down Lebo, which meant that Kanya didn't give him any time of day. Courtney, we never saw their conversations, which left only Ruth and Tabby. And Ruth, we all know she and Nola had this sexual chemistry. And once she got upset with Isaac, she just moved on to Nola, which left Tabby. And I think Tabby drew the short straw. And so she was the one who ended up just being saddled with Lindele. I found their coupling strange. Aesthetically, they looked amazing, Lindele and Tabby. They looked like that model couple, that, you know, front page cover couple, whatever. But sadly, their connection didn't translate, because the way they spoke about their connection, you would have thought it was Caesar and Kateko describing their connection. They were very vocal. "Oh, we're very intimate. We're very comfortable around each other. There's sexual chemistry with," and it's like, but we can't see it. Yes, you're saying it, but we can't see it. And so, sadly for Genesis and Tabby, they themselves did not stand out, and they coupled up with people that didn't stand out, which meant that they didn't sort of have the impact on the show that the producers were aiming for with them. I think the producers wanted them to have the fairy tale storyline, and sadly this did. As much as it looked good on paper and people imagined it, it didn't translate even when they sort of returned to one another. And there was all that incident about the gifts and everything else. Nothing stood out. Nothing sadly stood out. And even when they tried to go through their pictures of, you know, their relationship and stuff, it still wasn't there. There was really nothing. And so, am I surprised that Genesis proposed? No, I'm not. I think he is crazy in love with this girl. I think seeing her with Lindele pushed him over the edge and made him realize that if he wasn't careful, somebody else would take her, as Lindele actually vocalized and said, you know, Genesis needs to know that I am competition for him. So am I surprised that he proposed? No. I am actually surprised that she was quick to say yes. Yes, I'm happy that after the proposal, they took a step back and sort of tried to work on whatever was going on, because Genesis was saying, I don't want to marry someone who's stuck on somebody else. And I still don't know whether she's actually over Lindele, because we've never actually heard them speak about, her and Lindele speak about their relationship and how they were able to work over that and get over that. Because the last time we saw them, they were hugging and giving each other presents and calling each other boopsie boopsie. So I saw on Instagram, I did sort of, you know, creep onto the Instagram, and I saw Genesis posted pictures of them wearing some sort of traditional attire. I don't know whether they were getting married, they were paying the bride price or whatever was going on. I don't know. I don't think they are ready personally. I think they need to take another year and actually work on their relationship and make sure that they're definitely in the right space and it's the right time for the two of them, and then go ahead and get married. Because I feel sorry for Genesis if Tabby is just doing this because he even said to her, I don't want to be chosen just because I've been in a relationship with her the longest. And something that plays at the back of my mind is Isaac saying when he looks at Tabby and Lindele, he sees two confused adults. And it's like, what does he mean by that? I wish he had told us what he meant by that. Does he mean that they're not sure about their partners and they feel they would be better together as a couple? Or what does he mean? I don't know. I really hope they've managed to work through whatever issues they had in their relationship and they're in a good space and they're able to make things work, because I think they will be happy as a couple. I don't know. I really didn't quite understand their journey, so I don't know. And then with Ruth and Isaac, I know there have been allegations with people saying, oh, they were paid actors and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they're paid actors. What I think with Ruth and Isaac, what I think happened is, I think Ruth and Isaac either dated and were on the verge of breaking up when they found out about the show and decided to sign up for the show, or they were friends who were very close friends and decided to come up with the story so that they could sign up to be on the show. I don't think they were actually in a relationship that was going for 2 years. Maybe they might have been on and off, but it's a bit fishy in the sense that the way they behaved and the way they carried themselves, they lived up to what the producers wanted. Because I feel like they were cast as the dramatic couple, the toxic couple. Well, not the toxic couple per se. I think the title was left for Kanya and Kateko, but I think they were the dramatic couple that were just unpredictable in whatever they were going to say or do. I think this is why the producers cast them. And the fact that they were so flirty during the speed dating, especially Ruth, didn't make sense if she's brought someone to the ultimatum saying, I want him to be honest with me, I want him to choose me, I want to know what he's hiding. That didn't make sense. And the fact that Isaac was hiding all these secrets doesn't make sense to me, that he ended up bringing a ring and saying, I planned on proposing to you. This seemed more theatrical at some points. They over-exaggerated how they were feeling or what they were thinking. That's my opinion. Because once they coupled up with their new partners, they were smarter because they ended up in couples where they were able to get airtime and leave an impression on the show, in the sense that obviously because of the way Ruth was moving with Nola, the fact that they had sex on camera and how flirty she was and how outspoken she was, and she actually confessed to sleeping with Nola to Lebo. This is why she stands out. And so I feel some type of way about her, telling Lebo first before telling Isaac. I think to some extent Nola was right to say he should have been the one to tell Lebo and she should have been the one to tell Isaac. I feel like they were really not as well, they were quick to want to have sex with other people or to become very intimate, because even Isaac said on his first or second night, I don't know whether to speed things up with Kanya or take things slow. I don't want to upset my partner, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why are you even thinking of that? Why are you thinking of that? You've barely been out of your partner's bed for 24 hours or 48 hours and you're already thinking of what to do to your next conquest. Was I surprised with how things played out? No. I didn't expect Ruth to have sex on camera. Okay, fine. But I expected her to do something with Nola, because there was that chemistry that they kept talking about, and the way they were behaving around one another, you knew something was going to happen. From the moment they talked about putting a bridge in the bed and stuff, you could tell that these people, they're going to be up to no good. So I wasn't surprised with her having sex. I was actually surprised with Isaac, given the fact that Ruth was complaining that he doesn't do anything, he's very secretive, he's not funny, he's not whatever. To see him plan out things for Kanya, the romantic date, to have the flowers delivered. He was trying to get into Kanya's pants, so he did anything and everything in order to get there. And I think once he got there, that's why he started behaving the other way. That's why he started complaining that she doesn't clean, she's dirty, she's this, that, and the other. And so I think for Isaac and Ruth, their goal was always to get as much airtime or as much publicity as possible. That's the impression that I get from the partners that they chose, to the actions that they carried out throughout the show. I was actually surprised as well that when Nola and Lebo left, they stayed behind. Because it's like, so why are you staying behind? The two of you were arguing before the coupling up, the first changeover. You were arguing now at the second changeover. Why are you still here? I understand Ruth asking him, why are you still here? And it's like, but why are you, Ruth, still here if you're asking him? And so she then, apparently he had this ring. And to me, it doesn't make sense. So she's not good enough for you to introduce to your family or to your friends or for her to call you. But she's good enough for you to get a ring. Make that make sense? And the fact that he introduced Kanya to his family after 3 weeks, and yet he couldn't introduce Ruth, who he had dated for 2 years, even though he said they'd barely spent more than 8 months together. That didn't make sense. It was too theatrical. It was too sort of choreographed, in the sense that they were just coming up with things on the fly. That's the impression that I get. Because some of the things that they did were so random that they didn't make sense. They didn't make sense. For him to bring this ring, for him to say, I'm going to sleep at home. Okay, him saying, I'm going home because I can't sleep in the same bed that you were sleeping with Nola, makes sense. But then for him to come back and then throw a fit and say, I'm sleeping on the couch. Okay, fine, I'll climb. So what's changed? It's the same bed that Nola was sleeping in. Okay, Nola was sleeping on the other side, but still it's the same bed. So make it make sense. Make it make sense. Was I surprised that they pushed it to the very end? No, I think the producers encouraged them to stay, because if they had gone home, then they wouldn't have the dramatic couple and they wouldn't have the outspoken person. Because Ruth was outspoken, but she wasn't rude. And she wasn't abusive. She was outspoken, but she wasn't rude or abusive. She was totally different to Kanya, and I think the producers wanted her to sort of balance out Kanya, because otherwise, without her, they just had Kanya, and then they had the Nkateko and Caesar storyline. So I think they needed somebody else to sort of bring a different dynamic to the show. I was actually surprised that they got to the ultimatum, and was I surprised that they both decided to say no. I found it hilarious though, the way Isaac spoke for a bit, and then he opened this ring, and then he shut it, and it's just like, oh my god, give him Best Actor award, because he's really milking this for all it's worth. I feel like you should have just come in. I have tried to forgive you, but I'm sorry, I can't get over what you did with Nola, so I feel it's time to call it quits. So for him to say, I think you deserve better, it's like, oh my god. Even for her to end things were ended the moment everybody found out that she and Nola would be having sex. And so even at the reunion, the way they were like, oh, I want the best for you and whatever, it's like, these people were really never in love, because of how nonchalant they are about everything. Because if they were seriously in love with one another, people would have been upset. Isaac would not have just stormed off. He would have wanted an explanation from Ruth as to why she did what she did. He would have wanted clarity from Nola as to why he had been lying to him. Yes, they tried to fight and whatever, but I think that was just more for theatrics than anything else. And so I appreciated Ruth and Isaac, because they brought a different dynamic to the show. But sadly for Tabby and Genesis was sweet, but Tabby sadly was borderline on the same front line as Kanya, because she seemed to align herself a lot with Kanya. The fact that she aligned herself with Kanya when they tried to attack Caesar for being, very sweet and having great chemistry with Kateko, that I didn't like, because Kanya, it seemed, was giving Tabby talking points, and then Tabby would come and deliver it to the group and pretend like she was saying it, because of how, oh, I don't like the way you two are performing. You put on a performance in front of everyone, and you're doing this. It's sad that nobody called out Tabby for that. I wish she had been called out, because that is unacceptable. She borderline bullied Caesar. Had the other two girls at labor and Ruth not called her out, she would have kept going, because she wanted to hammer down Caesar for reasons best known to her. So I don't know. It's sad that they didn't leave as much of a mark as the producers wanted for them to leave, but hey, it is what it is. At least they got airtime, because at times Netflix will just cut you out, even though you spent 3-4 weeks there. They'll just choose not to air you. So hey, it is what it is. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll try and upload the review for Kanya, Nkateko, Caesar, and Lindile tomorrow, but I'll see. Thanks guys. Bye.